I used to have a dirt bike and I used to do wheelies for 40, 50 meters and jump barriers and the likes. And I had lots of accidents. And I was in
70 Pearls of Prayer brings together 70 authentic du'as from the Quran and Sunnah. Download it for free. Link in the description and pinned in the comments.
Arman from India.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum salam to Allah.
Sheikh, I have hard hair and thick hairs. So can I do fade hairstyle, like fade cut? It helps me to keep them and I look good in it. So, Jazakallah khair.
Are you asking me about fade haircuts?
Yes, Sheikh.
Okay, first of all, fade haircuts are not qaza'. The Prophet ﷺ in an authentic hadith prohibited qaza'. And qaza' is to shave part of the head and leave part of it. So if you have a mohawk hairstyle, that's qaza'. It's totally prohibited. If you have, like some of the Buddhist monks have on top of their head, they leave some of the hair and they shave the rest, that's qaza', totally prohibited. Fading is to have a normal hair on the top and then it goes like with a trimmer 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. So you would see it almost nothing here, but it's not shaved. It's done with a trimmer. This is not qaza', but it is still prohibited because it's imitating the disbelievers. Imam Ahmad used to hate, which is equivalent to prohibit, having the haircut that normal people have, and then they have a line at the back of the neck where they cut it or shave it, having the hair normal. That trimming or that line, hairline on the ears and at the back of the neck, Imam Ahmad used to hate or prohibit that, let alone fading. So fading is not something that Muslims should do. And a lot of the people I meet, especially from the Western sphere, whether it's the US, Canada, Europe, or even in Turkey, they would come and say, what's the ruling on that? And I would say to them, if I see people doing this, I would doubt whether they're Muslims or not. I tell them, how would you feel if a prominent scholar or a da'iyah, a real da'iyah, not hanky-panky da'iyah, a real Muslim practicing, knowledgeable da'iyah, who walks the talk, would do such a fading haircut? How would you look at him? That wouldn't be appropriate, like it wouldn't be appropriate for a da'iyah to wear a necklace or a bracelet, like some people do. All of this is un-Islamic. So focus on what pleases Allah. Focus on maintaining your Islamic identity, because that is what counts. Yosha from India.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa barakatuh.
My father is trying to pray in mosque for 40 days continuously with the first takbir. Alhamdulillah, he's completed almost 27 days, but his question is now that the summer has concluded over here and started to rain. His question is, if, madallah, it starts to rain really heavily during the time of congregation of a particular prayer, although he's aware that there's excuse for missing prayer, but would this affect his 40-day streak and he'll miss the reward which would have got had he poor hardship and not miss the congregation?
The hadith, wajazakum, the hadith, whoever prays 40 days in congregation, not missing the first takbir, Allah would write for him 2 exemptions from hypocrisy and from hellfire. It's a disputed upon hadith, whether it's authentic or not. And assuming it's authentic, if a person has a legitimate reason, such as being sick, traveling, or in the case of heavy rain, if he prays home, the streak is continuing if he goes and prays after this excuse was uplifted, and inshallah, it would not stop. Tan'eem from Bangladesh.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh.
Alaikum salam to Allah.
So I have a relative who follows Tabligh Jamaat, and he occasionally gives lectures at the mosques. He has invited me to join him. Can I go and listen to him? Just
No problem in listening to their lecturing in the masjid if you are capable of distinguishing what is right and what is wrong. Most likely in the masjid, they would highlight and focus on the importance of salat, the importance of growing the beard, of using the miswak, of reading your adhkar and the Quran, of being kind to one another. That's all fine and it's part of Islam, inshallah. Atif from the Netherlands.
Assalamu alaikum. Can you hear me?
Alaikum salam wa
Sheikh, I want to get my motorcycle license, but my parents would rather I don't because they think it's too dangerous and that there are stupid people on the roads that might hit me. However, they do say that I can do whatever I want because I'm old enough. Will I be disobedient if I do so and get my license?
You want to get your license for what?
A motorcycle.
Okay, can you afford a car?
I can currently afford a car, yes.
No. Get a car. It is, I agree with them. As a parent, I know that riding bikes is a lot of fun. I used to do this 50 years ago. I used to have a dirt bike and I used to do wheelies for 40, 50 meters and jump barriers and the likes. And I had lots of accidents and I was injured many, many times. Nowadays, when you have the choice and the option between a motorcycle and a car, and your parents are afraid, the feeling of fear for you, though they know that we live in a kafir country, we have no control over our son, and he is a renegade, he would do whatever he wants, we can't stop him or force him. So if you buy a motorcycle and they're fine with it, you're not gonna buy an ATCC. You're most likely going to buy a Ducati or a Ninja or whatever, something that's really dangerous. And every time you go and come, their heart is hanging by a thread. Is this justifiable for a Muslim who knows that he would not be admitted to Jannah unless he is dutiful and pleasing and obeying and respecting his parents? Yes, they told you do it, but they don't say it willingly. They say it forcefully because they're compelled to say you can do it if you wish. So would I say that you would be sinful? I am hesitant to say yes, you would be. Especially when you have the ability to buy a car and to be safe, and they would be in peace with that idea, and Allah knows best. Hamid from Nigeria.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Sheikh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
So my question is, how do one calculate the time of Asri? I researched that the time of Asri is calculated as the time of Zawal plus actual length of the object, which is equal to the time of Asri. And in another place, it's calculated as the time of Zawal plus the shadow of the object, which is equal to the length of the object.
Yeah, Hamid, do you think I can understand your accent when it's this heavy? You have to appreciate my old age, speak slowly, fix the accent a little bit. All what I understood is how to calculate the time of Asri, which is, I don't know what is Asri. Asri is a name of a family in Malaysia and Indonesia. But if you mean Asr, prayer, then to calculate it is to erect something like a pen. And when the sun rises, as it rises, there is a shade from the west getting shorter and shorter and shorter until the sun is on the meridian and there is no shade. The moment the sun goes a little bit to the west and there's a little bit of shade here, now it is time for Dhuhr. And the shade as the sun goes westbound is getting longer and longer. The moment the shade and the length of the erected object is the same, this is when the time of Dhuhr is over and it announces the time of Asr. Now Asr time has begun. So this is how we calculate the Asr time, and I hope this answers your question. Rahma from the UK.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Sheikh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
I'm asking this question on behalf of my friend. So she has received a marriage proposal from a brother who is looking for a second wife. she has spoken to her dad about the proposal and he's happy with it. And obviously she prayed istihara. However, the sister is scared of getting married again because she has experienced one divorce. She worries that her fear might affect her decision, even though she sees good in the proposal. What advice would you give to the sister? Jazakallah khair.
Wajazakum. Basically speaking, when someone comes with a so generic advice, trust Allah Azza wa Jal and go ahead. If the brother checks all the boxes, if you are yourself normal and not mentally sick or traumatized, and you know that this would not have an impact on your marriage, Bismillah, go ahead and trust Allah Azza wa Jal and go with the proposal. Generally speaking, we need to discuss this more. We need to know more about the sister herself, what kind of behaviors she is going through, how does she react, about the brother himself, is he trustworthy, is he man enough, is he going to be providing a decent accommodation and providing for her financially, be fair in distributing the days and nights and the likes. All of this cannot be answered here.